We've all learned to work differently. We have a lot more remote working going on, and there's a lot of new challenges and new opportunities in communication and productivity. Hello, everyone. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the Mortgage Innovators podcast, where we deliver fresh and hopefully entertaining insights on all things mortgage and the innovation propelling our industry forward. My name is Dave Zitting with Avenue Technologies, makers of the IntraLend platform. And every Tuesday, you can find our rotating group of co-hosts, or what the producers have dubbed the Innovative Five, who all share their own unique connection to the industry. I'm happy to have my co-hosts, Margaret, Dan, and Michael with me here today. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
And a special shout out to our sponsor, Qualia. Qualia is the category-creating digital closing platform used by thousands of lenders across the country to seamlessly work with their title and escrow partners. By working better together, Qualia is powering lenders to deliver a differentiated closing experience for their clients. Through real-time communications, closing status updates, and workflow management, Qualia brings lenders together with home buyers and sellers, title and escrow agents, and real estate agents for a secure and seamless closing experience. Qualia is proud to have been awarded the Housing Wire Tech 100 Award for real estate, as well as CB Insights FinTech 250 Award. Discover how you can work more efficiently with your title and escrow partners at qualia.com/innovators. That's QUALIA.com/innovators. So we have a fun topic today to jump into. The last number of segments, we've really focused on more specifically mortgage-related technology. And today we're going to explore well out of our industry and sort of kind of a multi-complex technologies that many other industry utilize, but we find in the housing industry and specifically in the mortgage industry that we're using more and more. How do they help us? How have they helped us grow over the last, especially the last couple of years? All the changes that we have seen that have been thrown at us with COVID. We've all learned to work differently. We have a lot more remote working going on, and there's a lot of new challenges and new opportunities in communication and productivity and all of these sorts of things. So fun topic, and I'm just going to jump right in. We haven't picked any specific technologies, but there's a few that just kind of rise to the occasion. We're utilizing GoTo right now. Zoom's very popular. Things like Teams and whatnot. So I think that might be a really great way for us to start, because so many companies have had such massive changes. My curiosity is, how successful have we been in those? What has changed in our organization, and do we expect that these changes might stay for the long term going forward? So Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think I think like most technology things, once that genie's out of the bottle, I don't think it's going to go back in. So I think that it's going to change. I think video, especially, as we're talking about meetings and things, I do think that that's here to stay in some capacity, especially as you're getting, looking at it a little bit different, even from talent pools, right? If you're like, for us, we're located in Northern California, and we've got also 3 other great mortgage companies that are right in the backyard here with us. There's only so many mortgage people in Sacramento from the back end side. So, as you expand out, you start bringing on people that are in different markets that are working remotely, leveraging those team meetings. For us, we are Microsoft Teams is our primary internal video tool, but then, that only covers one portion of it. Then you've got, what are your loan officers using with their clients? And so, we have a lot of people that are using like BombBomb or other, where it's more short video messaging that's a little bit more just client facing versus full on meetings. So we've got kind of a variety that we're using based on whether it's internal or external, but I definitely think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I agree. And It's interesting where so many businesses were testing the waters with some of these sort of technologies like BombBomb, like Teams, and different things like that. And then we were all thrown into the deep end of the pool. And so much productivity and so much capability has come from that. You know, the other thing that I find is really interesting is what is acceptable now. We have so many meetings with, I could be in a meeting with the CEO or with a head attorney of some highfalutin firm that charges enormous hourly rates, and the backgrounds and what's going on and kids showing up and, you know, all of this different stuff. You know, when we were first starting to move into these sort of technologies, you had to kind of make it feel like none of that was going on. Now the world has accepted it. Consumers have been trained how to operate with businesses that are virtual because we've all had to. And this giant leap forward in sort of what to expect has changed so dramatically. Margaret, what have you felt in that sort of aspect? Have you felt it go a little too far? Has it just been wonderful that we have expanded that expectation across all constituencies? And what have been the wins and maybe any things that you aren't happy about that with?
So for me, this whole transition was very, very positive. As a leader on the sales side for a correspondent channel, I did a lot of traveling. And so it was fantastic to be at home. What I really appreciated was it seemed like everyone was cheering everybody on. Like, you know, you could show up in your awesome shirt, you know, low rates, but not a low tide, like
Yeah,
Dan has.
Dan.
And that's what I found. I found, you know, we talked, I think it was a few podcasts back, we talked about, you know, inclusion and making people feel good and empathy and all of that. And I felt like there was a lot of it, that everyone was cheering you on when you turned your camera on, even though we didn't want to turn our camera on. And I loved the flexibility. So I sort of come to this conversation, Dave, really from the perspective of we benefited a lot. I think there are some people that are just dying to get back into the office, but I think in general, this stretched us. A lot of times I think of myself not as a big early adopter. I'm not sure if I would have turned my camera on and done a Zoom, but it's just, this is the new market standard.
Great points. Absolutely great points. Dan?
Yeah, so the dynamic certainly has changed through last year for sure, and I agree with everything Margaret and Michael stated. I will say though, you know what we're feeling is there's definitely some people in the organization that are kind of having, you know, Zoom fatigue, where people are just craving to get back to face to face. So you know, as you guys know, I just came back from our President's Club trip, which, you know, this year was, you know, close to 200 of our top performers all together. You know, no masks, everybody's hugging and high-fiving, and there is nothing that matches that. I don't care how great technology can ever be. It's just really a way for you to collaborate. And you know, I think we're seeing that throughout our organization is just people clamoring to get back to face-to-face interactions. And you know, from my seat, my position, and a lot of what I do is really talking to our top performers, understanding what's working, what's not, so that we can get that feedback and make sure and turn it into really actionable items. And it's really the only way. I mean, we can pull salespeople onto, you know, Zoom meetings and things and try to get some of the feedback. They're checking emails, they're scrolling all over the place. I mean, we all know salespeople, right? But when you can sit them down one-on-one, face-to-face, and either witness what they do on a daily basis or have a conversation where they can't look at their phone, they can't check emails, you know, we certainly see the highest engagement. I hadn't, you know, one of my first travels back after the restrictions have been lifted was out to our Southern California region. I got more feedback in 8 branch visits over a day and a half than I could have probably done over 3 months in Zoom. So you know, there's always going to be a place for technology, and even as part of our sales cycles, we're seeing the dynamic change. Is a lot of our guys are now having some of those first-time home buyers come to the office to do that face-to-face and really build that trust and get that personalization. But maybe if there's a repeat customer or some guy that's doing 5 investment properties with them, they're totally cool going completely virtual. So we're seeing kind of the dynamic shift even on that aspect, and they're really trying to tailor it to the customer's needs and desires and how they want to interact, through each transaction and interaction.
Yep, those are excellent points, Dan and Margaret and Michael. I loved them all. And Dan, specifically to that, what I've kind of found is that it's the, oh, really, I didn't know that sort of thing. You can categorize everything into, oh, really, I didn't know that. And you can't know those things pure virtual. And when you go meet with the team or you get the team together, we recently just had a big on-site with all of the management together, and we were doing our quarterly planning and objectives. And man, you came out of that 3-day session, just your mind blown of, oh, really, I didn't know that. And too much of that, oh, really, I didn't know that goes on when you're running highly virtual. And that's a big negative. You got to try to find and create strategy beyond the technology that allows you to battle that. On a positive, to your guys' point, recently I needed to put a committee together. It's an ad hoc committee. I needed some information. I needed some very, very specific people from all over the country to be a part of this committee. And I was able to do that in an hour. And it was amazing. Nobody had, and we were all happy faces. We recorded the session, Google Doc behind it, invited all of the key folks from the different business units to be a part of it. And I was done, checking the box, and I moved forward. And I remember thinking about how there was no real way that I could have done that just a couple of years ago, to the extent, even if the tech was available, we're so much more familiar with the processes now of how it works, and people are comfortable. And those are 2 examples of just kind of the spectrum of, here's the challenge, but here's the gain. I really appreciate that. Well, let's move forward.
Dave, I just wanted,
Go ahead,
wanted
Margaret.
to just say, I think that was excellent. You sort of juxtapositioning what Dan said, because I think it's exactly right. There is nothing that replaces face-to-face. And also the efficiencies and how you can get something done, make it really low cost for people to engage and participate. And I think the wisdom or the competitive advantage is really understanding when to employ one or the other.
Mm.
And I think that's why this topic is such an awesome topic, Dave, that you selected for us, is because that's really it. Now we learned, we have this as a resource, and now our job is to employ it in the most powerful way, given our ambition and what we're trying to get done, and taking care of the other people. You took care of the people all across the country by making it really simple for them. And Dan took care of his top producers that really wanted to connect and engage. So anyway.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree with that, Margaret, wholeheartedly. And there's really nothing, there's no ones and zeros that can that can fill that amazing thing that happens when people together. I believe there's a lot of telepathy that happens that nobody's aware of. And there's so much language going on, and you just get so much more, and you're aware. There's just this kind of sort of within 10 feet awareness where knowledge transfer occurs at such a big level. And I think we're still figuring that out as an industry, and a lot of industries are as well. Another thing I wanted to touch on today is just kind of keeping in with our time budget here, beyond communications tools, also a big one I think is exploded. At least I see other businesses have more rapidly adopted the entire business team participating more in project management tools and technologies. that has been something that as an organization, we've had to become more, as an industry, organizations have had to become more organized in the way we do things if folks are kind of scattered all over the place or not in the office and talking about stuff at the water cooler. And so we utilize a smart sheet, tech called Smart Sheet, and I love it. It's incredibly simple. We can connect everybody into all of the different objectives, and it's just really, really simple to keep on track, get reminders, everybody getting knowledge share about what's going on in all of the different business units. And because of partly we are mainly a virtual firm, but also we were thrown into the deep end and had to really adopt a lot of virtual stuff quickly, we started leaning on that quite a bit more. And further down the line, it wasn't just management that was involved in these project management tools. All of a sudden, I found that like almost everybody was involved in these project management tools. What have you guys found in that? Do you guys see that you're leveraging more of those across all of the different levels of the business, and what are some of the positives that you see there?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So, Finance America, we've been going through a transformation effort with our technology teams, really to the move to more of an agile methodology. And in doing so, we realized some of those traditional tools, like a Microsoft Project or some of the really, traditional, what I'll call kind of waterfall project management tools, just really no longer suited that model. So we've been highly leveraging Azure DevOps. Jira is another one that kind of follows the same methodology. Really looking at how we can leverage Kanban boards to really drive a lot of our execution in those different product teams. So we're aligning our product teams really focused on different components of our users so that they really get ingrained with the user base and build a team of knowledgeable individuals all the way from the product manager through business analysts, through developers, through UAT testers, through basically so your entire technology team gets brought out of the closet and are more front-facing individuals and can really start to build that collaboration, start innovating from the ground up versus always from the top down, and transition really from what I'll call like a feature request team of executors that basically just intake requests from people, and really start to think about how to solve the overall problem and really innovate and create efficiencies and value for the business. So Azure DevOps, we've leveraged to the fullest extent for sure. It's really our tool set to make sure that we can track velocity, capacity of team members, and make sure that we're executing on all the things that we're promising the business. It also allows a great deal of transparency throughout the organization. So anybody in the organization can go and look at exactly what's being worked on, where that item is that they made, if somebody in product and pricing is focused on an item, they can literally go see exactly the status of that, who's working on that, and what release it's actually targeted for us to deploy that.
Very cool. Very cool. Margaret?
Yeah, and I would say we're, at least my group, definitely not as far along as Dan. However, just noticed a lot more collaboration. So whereas, documents that were housed in SharePoints or in Teams maybe weren't used as much by a broader group, that we saw a lot more adoption of that and the efficiencies of it. So I think we'll just see more and more as we go. It's kind of like what you said, Dave. Now we were thrown in the deep end, had to do all of these things quick on a dime, and now we're able to understand how do they work, and then how can we best employ them for maximum efficiency.
And familiarity, right? So familiarity,
Yes.
more people in the organization being familiar with the tool and using the tool enough that you can just jump in and use it kind of automatically without, now, how do I do this and how do I do that? Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, same. I think, to kind of what Dan was saying, we've got, our dev team uses Agile DevOps. We kind of started doing that about 2 years before, 2 years ago or so. So that wasn't extremely new to us, but I think it's the widening of the visibility. I think you hit it on the head when you just said it's more people within the organization at different levels. We still use Smartsheet quite a bit. And I think just from the simplicity aspect of it is Smartsheet's one of those where you can get almost as complicated as you want, but then you can really minimize it down. So if you're, in a general meeting, just giving an overview, you can have it minimized. But if you're really getting into those, project details, deliverables on every, action item in a project, you can expand it out and really go into that. And I also think too, the visibility of even like during meetings, things like Teams where you can whiteboard out sessions where everybody's seeing it, right there on the screen as you're going through it. You're able to drag and drop files while you're on those calls. Smartsheet, you're getting notifications anytime somebody goes in there and does something. So it's giving that visibility, because I think one thing that's been a little bit different through this pandemic is I think people's work hours have really changed because of the kids at school, because of all the things. So people are doing things at such different times now. Having that central location where it's like, not everybody's able to be on that one meeting at that certain time, or you're able to record and send that out, or so I think that's been something that's really expanded as well, is just the unique ways that you can have people alerted and people know when things are being done in those platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's almost like we're getting a little bit more like Spain. The first time I went to Spain, you don't even think about having dinner until 10 p.m. 9:30. The restaurants are closing at 9 because they just have this broken up day, right? It's like, here's what's going on, and we're becoming more and more. I don't know how many of you guys or our audience is finding that they're having dinner at 8 or 9 or 9:30 at night. I think that happens a lot more now than it has before. But guys, we're getting to the end of our time today. It's been such a pleasure to collaborate with all of you. I'd like to thank our audience for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to the Mortgage Innovators YouTube channel or wherever you podcast. Until next time.